all the weird ingredients that you may see inside your food. So this is one of the reasons why in the 21-day fix that we really try to stick to, well, it's not that we really try to, we do stick to whole, real foods. If you look at all the ingredients in the book for the red, the green, the yellow, all those containers, they're real foods. It's not processed foods. You're not allowed to go grab a granola bar or something like that. So I'm going to actually show you guys and just kind of walk you through some different things to look for on your food labels. And I want you to just go check out your pantry. Go look for things and see if you have some of these things in your house. And I'll tell you too, after I looked at, I've been doing this stuff for a while. I knew all this stuff, but I recently researched this stuff again when I was sharing this information with my students the other day. And I even found some new things around my house that I didn't know about. So I'm going to do a quick screen share with you and show you, pull up this article that I have, and that's going to kind of give you an idea of things to avoid. Okay, so there's 7 main things that we want to look for in our foods that we want to be careful of. This list right here I'm going to go through slowly. So the first thing is high fructose corn syrup. So basically it's a substitute for real sugar, but it actually is not the same as sugar. High fructose corn syrup can actually go directly to your liver where it converts to fat and can ultimately lead to heart disease and other problems. So we know that high fructose corn syrup isn't great, but got to be careful because it shows up in foods that you may not even think. Okay, this is a salad dressing, number 2 ingredient, high fructose corn syrup. Kind of crazy. You wouldn't think that that'd be on there. Here's another one. This is actually a medicine for kids. This is a cough syrup. And if you look on here, high fructose corn syrup in medicine. So that's kind of crazy. Next things that you really want to look for are trans fats. So different hydrogenated oils, trans fats raise your triglycerides. They increase your risk of heart attack. They've been linked to prostate cancer, breast cancer, all these diseases. And these are all these scary things that we don't like to think about, but eventually we do get old, and if we don't take care of what we eat now, this actually can become a problem. It is a problem for people. So some things to look for with trans fats. It's kind of interesting. Companies aren't allowed to put trans fats in things anymore, but they actually do anyways. They're not allowed to have, 1% or more of trans fat in a serving. So it looks like they took it out of foods, but they don't necessarily do that. So Cool Whip, for example, has a 0.5 gram of trans fat per serving, but they don't have to list it on the ingredients label or in the percentage label because it's less than 1 gram. But if you actually look at the ingredients, you will see things that actually are trans fat. And if you eat multiple servings of Cool Whip, you're actually getting trans fat. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Other things to look for when you're looking on ingredients list to see if it actually is a trans fat. If you see anything that says partially hydrogenated oils, those are trans fats. Now, if it says fully hydrogenated oils, that's not a trans fat. Other things to look for are shortening, datum, which is DATEM, and mono and diglycerides. Those are all trans fats. Okay, so here is a chocolate chip cookie crunch. If you look right here, hydrogenated soybean oil and hydrogenated cottonseed. Those are both trans fats. So interesting things you wouldn't necessarily think of. Artificial flavorings. Okay, so artificial flavorings are designed to mimic the taste of natural ingredients. They're used to make processed foods taste good because what happens when they process foods is they take out all the nutrients and they take out all the stuff, they do it really processed and the flavor gets lost in it and people aren't going to eat these bland, gross pseudo foods. So they add in artificial flavorings to make it seem like it tastes like strawberry or grape or whatever it is. So this is kind of interesting. Strawberry flavoring actually has 49 man-made chemicals that make it up, okay? Butter artificial flavoring is made from 100 different man-made chemicals, which is kind of crazy gross. Here is a picture of pudding for pistachio pudding, artificial flavoring in it. If you look on a lot of different other things, just look at artificial flavoring. The other interesting thing is that they don't have to tell you what the artificial flavoring is made from. So if it says natural or artificial flavors in there, you don't know if that actually is, they squeezed an orange and they're using the smell of that, or is it a bunch of man-made chemical ingredients that make your artificial flavoring? So kind of creepy, so I kind of try to stay away from that. Monosodium glutamate, MSG, You've heard lots of things about this. The FDA has claimed that it's generally recognized as safe, but there have been numerous consumer complaints about reactions to food that have MSG, including swelling, facial numbness, heart palpitations, nausea, and weakness. So I really try to stay away from that. They don't usually list MSG as an ingredient, but it has some other names that you might recognize. So if you have things like yeast extract, autolyzed yeast extract, hydrolyzed vegetable protein, vegetable powder, and many more, those are all going to be MSG. And if here's right here is an example of a rice-a-roni chicken and mushroom flavoring, all of the stuff they have examples of in here. Artificial coloring. Now this one actually scares me a little bit. So artificial coloring isn't used in a lot of other countries besides the United States. In fact, in a lot of other countries like the UK, they'll put warning labels on ingredients that have artificial flavors and saying these can possibly cause hyperactivity in children. Artificial food colors. My sister is actually allergic to yellow dye number 5 or number 2, or yeah, yellow dye number 5. She had a popsicle once that had yellow in it, and she coughed up yellow. Like it came out her nose and her mouth, really gross. It looked like she had spit up a highlighter. It has been known to link to hyperactivity, attention deficit disorder. It's interesting. I definitely agree that ADHD and ADD exist, but are we making it worse by letting our kids have foods that have artificial colorings in them? And interestingly enough, I just saw that Kraft is going to be taking artificial coloring out of mac and cheese, and Nestle just agreed to, by the end of the year, to take all artificial coloring out of their candies. So when you look on children's stuff, this is even wasabi sauce, maybe mustard sometimes has it in there. Anything, you'll find artificial dyes all the time. So be checking that out. One lady said, my 10-year-old son said it best, when I eat food coloring, I get crazy. I don't even know myself. It's crazy, like really kids, it really actually does affect them. Artificial sweeteners. This is one of my favorite things to talk about, is different types of sugar and the different names that they have for sugar. So artificial sugarings, acylfame potassium is one name for a sugar. Aspartame, you're going to see if you see things that say sucralose or sucrose. Saccharin is what's called sweet and low. There is anything that has like cane syrup, cane juice, the list goes on and on. Turbinado sugar, cane sugar. There's so many different types of sugars. The list goes on and on and on, and you may not know what the different names are, but a company might put, 10 different ingredients of sugar in something, and if you don't know all the names, you may miss that. Last thing I want to mention is preservatives. So these are used to prolong shelf life, but these chemicals have a detrimental effect on our health and many are allergens and possibly carcinogens. So some things to be looking for: BHA is known to affect kidneys and liver functions and is possibly a carcinogen. Polysorbate 60, 65, and 80 is shown to affect the immune system. Sodium benzoate is linked to allergic reactions and is a carcinogen. Sulfites, sulfites are common allergies that have been linked to headaches, bowel irritability, asthma. People with asthma need to be careful about it. They're used in dried fruit, wine, flavored vinegars, sausage, and other foods. TBHQ, you're going to find a lot of this in the candies that you eat. If you eat, like I think Reese's Peanut Butter Cup has that in there, other things like this. Potassium sorbate is linked to DNA damage, and nitrites. There's a ton of nitrates in meat. So I started looking for sodium nitrate free meat when I go to the deli, and you can ask around. Even these pickles, sodium benzoate preservative and polysorbate 80 are in dill pickles. So let me just stop my screen share for here just a quick second. So, okay, so there's a lot of things I just gave you. Here's the deal. I don't want to make you freak out about everything. I think it's just really important that we become aware of all of this. That's why I really try to eat foods that aren't processed, because if it's a whole carrot and it's onions and it's ground turkey and I put seasoning in it and I cook it and I serve it over brown rice noodles or whatever it is, I know where my food's coming from and I know what all the ingredients are. I don't have to be worrying about all these chemical weird things that I'm eating. Now, I'm not perfect with everything, but it's something to become aware of. And even, you know, when you eat ice cream on occasion, find an ice cream that's actually, you know, real ice cream. You can look for ingredients like that. Look for things with your yogurt, okay? Find something that's got real dairy, and then it has, you know, your, it'll have some probiotics in it as well. And they'll list those out. They'll say like acidophilus or weird, I don't remember the name, but they'll have a bunch of weird names that are usually just, probiotics. But look at your ingredients, see if you recognize them. So here's my challenge to you. Go dig through your cupboard, look at your medicine, look at your crackers, look at your different drinks in your fridge, look at your salad dressings, look at your can of beans, look at your can of soup, look at all these things and see, are your foods as healthy as you actually think they are? Okay, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll talk to you later.